The FAQ doesn't even say where it is. Now we're on? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream NBF 98. This is the 98th episode of Nothing But Facts. We thank all of the patrons who've been helping out with this. If you want to be part of this and get some hasanat, you can become go to patreon.com out with this if you want to be part of support. If you do not want to get hasanat and you do not want to support and you just want to benefit without any giving back, then don't go to patreon.com/Safina Society and don't become a patron. Okay. We thank all the patrons that have helped us out. We thank Noah Johannes, who is from Ohio, and he's one of the original Habashis. He's a Habashi, right? An Ethiopian. He originally ranks from the original Christians, and his family converted into Islam. And he may be from the descendants of an-Najashi himself. You never know. Everyone wants to claim descendants from somebody. Yesterday we talked about those who want to claim descendants from Genghis Khan, right? Which in fact they were insulting themselves, okay? Because Genghis Khan went around, him and his sons, raping everybody left and right. And so there's no fakhr there. But there would be fakhr if you are related to an-Najashi, whom the Prophet ﷺ praised, and he prayed upon what's called Salatul Ghaib, which is the janazah in absentia. Now, how did he do that? Because Sayidna Jibreel informed him. An-Najashi is a Muslim. An-Najashi himself, first of all, that's a title, by the way. Najashi is just a title. Just like Bahira is Rahib al-Bahira or Rahib al-Buhaira, the monk next to the lake. So it's not actually his name. So An-Najashi, the Negus of Ethiopia, of Habasha, he's the Christian king, and he was a just king whose justice reached the reputation in Mecca. And the Prophet ﷺ said, go to them, go to this Najashi because he's a just king. When he died, or when he received the message and heard the Quran, he believed in it, knew it was the truth. But he couldn't also risk revolution. Why? Like some people say, oh no, he just become Muslim and suffer whatever. What if other people are going to suffer? You're allowed to hide your iman to save your life or other people's lives. And he was saving the lives of the Sahaba. Right? He was saving the lives of the Sahaba. Therefore, when he became Muslim, what he said was, what do you all believe? They said, we believe that Jesus is the Son of God. He said, I believe this. And in his pocket, he's pointing to himself. They think he's pointing to I. But in his pocket was, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So in front of, this is called tawriyah. When you say something that you know the meaning of while others think you're talking about something else. So that's called tawriyah. And it's makruh, it's discouraged. Unless there's a valid reason. And there's more than a valid reason. He's saving the lives of the Sahaba. Because they were angry. The Ethiopians, the elite didn't want them. The bishops, they did not want the Sahaba there. Threatening their religion. So he was saving their lives. And he did tawriyah in a place where it was acceptable, fully acceptable. He had written in his shirt pocket, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So he said, I believe in this. And they thought he's saying I, pointing to I, but he's actually pointing to his pocket. So there, Sayyidina Jibreel informed the Prophet ﷺ, make janazah upon him, for he is a Muslim. From this, we have actually a nice fiqhi ikhtilaf, fiqhi question. The Malikiyya say, if somebody dies, and you can tell us what the Ahnaf say, if somebody dies, he is prayed upon by his town and those who bury him, and that's it. Why? Otherwise, we would be doing janazah all day. And we would have to be favoring people. If salat al-ghaib was mashru', first of all, the Prophet never did it. Except in this case. Many Muslims died everywhere. They may have died in Mecca. They may have died somewhere else. In Medina, the Prophet never did salat al-ghaib. like this constantly. Salat al-ghaib means janazah in absentia. So the Malikiya say the salah on the Najashi was because he had no Muslim to pray upon him. That's it. That's why. And that will never happen again. Why will that never happen again? Because the first people who hear about the death, the nearest people pray upon the person. So if a Muslim dies out somewhere in a desert, the first people to learn about that and to discover that, they pray upon him and that's it. Nobody else. Otherwise, if prayer in absentia is accepted, then we would have to almost be selective. So if you come say, oh, listen, hey, my mom died in Pakistan, please make janazah upon her. Okay, let's do that. All right, my mom died in Afghanistan. And then sometimes I remember someone saying, well, Sheikh so-and-so died, can we play Salat al-Ghaib on him? You're going to have favoritism. And you're going to hurt people. Because we're not going to have Salat al-Ghaib all day. So that's the first thing. The Shafi'iyya, however, they took from this one incident, that Salat al-Ghaib is mashru'. And it can be done for anybody because it is fi maqam ad-du'a. It's like a dua. Right? So they actually have accepted that. And I've seen the Shafi'iyya did it. And when the Shafi'iyya did it, I did it with them. Right? Because it's one of those matters where when you're with a group of people, I didn't want to just separate myself. So I did the Salat al-Ghaib with them. Because of course, Imam Shafi'i is a valid mujtahid. There's no discussion on that. So, do they have Salat al-Ghaib?
Hanafi school, no.
Just like ours method, right?
It's from the khasa'is of the Prophet.
Yes. See, the Shafi'iyya say there's nothing called khasa'is al-nubuwwah. Khasa'is al-nubuwwah is something specific to the Prophet. They say no. Everything the Prophet came with is shariah for all of us. We say, no, there is khasa'is al-nubuwwah. And that's one of them. Something that came to him about his marriages. The number of marriages that he had. That's specific for the Prophet.
The armor during a battle. Right?
Yeah.
If you take he said after some of the
a prophet. The prophet, when a prophet puts his armor on, he doesn't. Yeah, he said when a prophet.
Yeah.
But we can do that. For example, we announce a war to somebody, and then they say, "Hold on, let's discuss this. Let's have a meeting." We could take the. In fact, Sahaba did that. Did not Sayyidina Ali pull back the swords from the war with Muawiyah, the Syrians? Let's just say the Syrians, right? The war with the Syrians, right? To save the lives of Muslims.
The prophets are also buried where they pass away.
The prophets are buried where they pass away. They cannot be moved. A Muslim can be moved. The prophets do not inherit wealth. We can inherit wealth, like leave wealth as inheritance. There are many. The prophets can do wisal as-sawm. Wisal as-sawm means fasting 2 days or more in a row, never breaking your fast. That means Maghrib comes and goes and you don't break your fast. And you don't have suhood, you go straight. Sayyidina Musa, 40 days in a row, Allah fed him, nourished his body. The Prophet ﷺ said, likewise, the prophets can do this because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nourishes me. There are many things that the NBF have. So the concept of khasa'is an-nubuwwah, it's a strong concept. Things specific only to prophets.
This is why people should not be saying, oh, the prophets are just like us.
Yeah.
In the sense of denying their excellent status that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them.
Yeah. And the prophets, where the Prophet ﷺ did get upset, the Prophet ﷺ did get upset. When a Sahabi came in, asked, can I kiss my wife in fasting? Right? The Prophet ﷺ was mentioned. Oh, the question was actually from a woman, Sahabiya, to Sayyidah Aisha. And the Prophet is overhearing. She said, yes, it's permitted. And she said, I saw the Prophet kissing his wives. She didn't say kissing me because that's not adab, right? Sayyidah Aisha's wording is, I saw the Prophet, he kissed his family in fasting. That's the adab of that is that she didn't say his wife, his family, right? It's like to keep it more general. When you ask about somebody in Arabic, you don't say, how's your wife? This is something that is from the adab and the akhlaq of Muslims that we don't do, right? You say, how's your family? Keep it general. What's your business to ask about someone else's wife? It's like, in Western culture, it's a thing, right?
They'll even ask her, like, about her by her first name. How's Susan?
Oh, yeah. Bro, in these cultures, when they come over, they'll give a kiss on the cheek to the wife, right? So, other guy's wife. So we have our own culture about that related to the haya of how we discuss. So you maximum, you say Ahmad. And if you have nothing, if you don't know her kunya, Abdullah. Right? Abdullah. Because there will be somebody that she's a mother figure to, and that person is a slave of Allah. So Abdullah is general for anybody.
That was the kunya of Sayyidah Aisha, even though she didn't have children.
Yeah, she didn't have children. She's Abdullah. And she's al-Mu'mineen. Right? So, you don't even ask about them. What were we saying about this? How did we get to that subject?
You ask generally about a person's family, you don't mention.
Oh, yes. So this Sahabiya that Sayyidah Aisha said, the Prophet ﷺ kissed his family in Ramadan. Then the man came, and the man said, yes, but that's the Prophet. Right? And the Prophet heard that, and he said, and did I not come except to make law sunnah for all of you? So there is an aspect where khasa'is an-nubuwwah must have evidence that is specifically to the Prophet, so that nobody goes around and keeps saying, oh, that's the Prophet, that's for the Prophet, that's for the Prophet. Right? So when someone, and this happens, many people who have a little bit of a loose mind and they don't want to really practice their deen, and don't we all have, unfortunately, a relative like that somewhere, right? Where you say, oh, this is actually the sunnah of the Prophet. You say, oh, that's the Prophet. Are you the Prophet? You ever see this logic? Be very careful of the shaitan's logic. We need a book. Mantiq al-shaitan.
Tablis Iblis.
Talbis Iblis is just like that, right? Saying Ibn Jawzi.
The Ja'faris, or I think it's one Shia group, but they, like in their tafsir of Surah Al-A'raf,
Yeah.
they say because they have a problem with qiyas, I think. So they said the first person to use qiyas was Iblis.
Was Iblis, yeah. We say the first person who misused qiyas was Iblis. There's a big difference, right? Same when Malik and Abu Hanifa and Shafi'i, all of them said kalam is haram. What they meant is the kalam of the Mu'tazila, not the kalam of Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, who athbata al-athar.
Not Sunni kalam.
Yeah, not Sunni kalam, which establishes everything in our aqeedah first, then organizes it, right? So that's the kalam that have become permissible, right? Not only permissible, it can be fard, as you shared earlier today. Sayyidina Imam Ibn Jawzi al-Hanbali, Ibn Jawzi, he said that we leave the doubtful matters to Allah subhanahu I shouldn't say doubtful matters. We leave mutashabihat to Allah. You leave it to Allah. It's something you don't understand in religion. Okay. It means what Allah wants it to mean. It's Imam Shafi'i said. Or as Imam Ahmad said, we recite it, and that's the tafsir of it. Khalas. We just recite it and move on. Most hearts are fine like that. Until someone comes in, puts a doubt in your mind about this question. And we're living in a highly rational age of skepticism, doubts, and questions. Then Ibn Jawzi says, at that point, ta'weel is fard upon you, because that's the medicine of your aqeedah. That's the medicine of your heart. Ibn Jawzi said this. The book you said was called? You cited the book, just in case. No, the book for this one was different. What was it? You cited it. Yeah, it's in the chat.
Ibn
Jawzi has a book refuting the Radd and the...
I'll get you what the book is called right now. Here. Where did you post it? Yeah.
I think we also say at-tafweed aslam wa ta'weel ahkam.
Ahkam, yes.
So tafweed is safer, or but ta'weel is more how would you translate ahkam?
Either wiser or it cuts the matter.
Yeah.
It cuts the matter. It ends the matter.
It's more decisive.
It's more decisive.
Yeah,
completely
because
decisive.
There will be points where people, like you said, that tafweed is not enough. They can't go to sleep until they
100%
know, okay, what could it mean? What could it possibly
100%.
mean? So you need to give them that medicine.
I personally speaking was the book is called Al-Mawa'id wal Majalis.
Oh.
All right, page 11. I don't know which publication, but page 11. But I was one of those youth, which is why I'm very attached to Ilm al-Kalam. If there's any matter, I'm not unique to this. Many people are like this. Otherwise, Kalam wouldn't have existed. From all history, people are like this. If there's a mas'ala in my head that doesn't have a crisp and clear answer to it, you can't really move on. You can't move on. I remember I shared a room with Sheikh Yahya. This is not really personal, so I can tell you this story. And we have a lot of commonalities, and I was watching him, how he's organizing his little nightstand, and I'm organizing my nightstand when we arrive for Hajj. right? And were you with us on that Hajj trip? Or was it Harun? Oh, it was Harun was with us.
My cousin went with you guys.
Which one?
Adam.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm organizing, he's organizing. I'm all done organizing, he's still doing something, right? And he has certain things that he puts on his nightstand that have to be on his nightstand. And he's sitting, going around in circles. I said, what's going on? He said, I couldn't find this. I said, oh, do you need it tonight? He said, no, but it's the principle of it, right? Like one little thing on his, like everyone's got their nightstand. I got my nightstand, right? Certain things have to be within, while my eyes are shut, I need them on my nightstand. Everyone's like this, I think. And he was like this too. I was like, well, do you need it tonight? It's like 2 a.m, right? We just finished Umrah and we want to sleep and we probably have talks next day. So can we just sleep? He's like, I got to put this on my nightstand because it's the principle of it. So certain things have to be in order. Likewise, in your mind, they have to be in order, right? In your mind, they have to be in order. So certain masail related to qada, qadar, aqidah. Like I can't sleep. I can't continue life without an answer to this. Have to have an answer to this. So many people say, maybe people are not like that. They can live with gray. They can live with a lot of fuzzy gray areas, right? I can live with a gray area if I know I'm eventually going to get to it. Like this is right now hanging in the middle. Like what the quantum physicists say, it's in both worlds, right? It's like one or the other. We don't know yet. It's hanging there. I'm going to get to it, but just I can't get to it right now. Some people live their whole lives like this, right? And your life will get more and more smooth, like a smooth lake, like a lake that doesn't move. The more you answer all these questions and you leave no gray areas in life. And this is why, let's zoom out. Forget not talking about the Mutashabihat for a second. Let's just talk about general life. Why the shariah is so important. Because the shariah, it actually answers humongous questions for people and doesn't even allow a doubt. And I'm talking about big issues like who are my parents? Is my dad my real dad? I can't imagine. I don't think anyone here that lives a Muslim life can imagine like that level of a doubt, that kind of a doubt. Forget doubts in theology. This is doubts in your existence. And we have people, because of the culture of zina and there's no law and all this stuff, people with that level of doubt, where people don't know who their parents are, right? Or how about a guy, he doesn't know if his wife is cheating on him. Or a woman, I don't know if my husband's cheating. How could you exist with that, right? How could you exist with that? So, as a general theme to this, the general lesson out of this quote, is that certain things, if you want to live peacefully, remove these grays from life, right? And some things can be gray that are so minor. They could just stay, right? It could be both ways. It doesn't make a difference. You're right. Either way, it's not going to hurt you. Let me read you the quote from Ibn al-Jawzi al-Hanbali, and I hope someone could clip this out and make it a clip. Send it to us and we'll put it on YouTube or share it to your friends. It's a beautiful quote from Ibn al-Jawzi al-Hanbali from his book, Al-Mawa'idh wal-Majalis. If you're able to negate Tashbih outwardly and inwardly, in other words, purify your aqidah from imagining that Allah Ta'ala is like an object in the universe, as many, many religionists, Christians, Jews, and Muslims have fallen into this. Okay? All of the Yahud, all of them, 100% of those who still believe in God, they are upon this. And 100% of the Christians are upon. There's not a single munazzih amongst the two. One of them is telling you directly he's Jesus, right? He's come in the form of a man. And they draw him on the Sistine Chapel. What's wrong with you people? The Sistine Chapel. They draw him, right? Putting his finger to Adam like this. Okay? Or as the ignorant of the Italians call it, the 16th Chapel. Okay? كلهم مشبهة. Well, what's the result? There's dead religions. They're all atheists. Most of the Jews are atheists. You know that, right? They're like atheism to them is widespread. And it doesn't take you out of Judaism. But believing in Christ does take you out of Judaism. Go figure. If you're able to purify your heart from this tashbih, terrific. But if you cannot cleanse yourself from the shirk of tashbih because your mind keeps racing, like what does this verse actually mean? I need to know. Okay? And you want to arrive at pure tawheed and tanzih. You cannot do that except through the interpretations of ta'wil. Right? The ta'wil of whom? The Sahaba and the Salaf, not your own ta'wil. Because you don't have the qualifications to make ta'wil, nor would have probably anybody in the last 1,000 years. We would trust their ta'wilat. Ta'wilat is Sahaba was Salaf. Yes, Sahaba had ta'wilat. Ibn Mas'ud had Ibn Abbas had many ta'wilat. Okay? Say 92. He said then ta'wil is better than tashbih. So if we're between tanzih is removing these thoughts, and tashbih is having these bad thoughts about Allah, then ta'wil, interpretation, is safer and better, right? Tashbih is a sickness. To imagine your Lord and the creator of the universe is something like this, some object within the universe, okay, is an illness. Ta'wil, interpreting these verses properly, is the cure. If the disease isn't diagnosed, then the cure isn't required. Like if you don't have the disease, then you don't need ta'wil. That's why you go to all the farmlands of the Muslims, and people praying and fasting for 60 years, okay, and you say something about ilm al-kalam, he doesn't know what you're talking about, right? He doesn't have the disease. Likewise, you tell him something like, people in America go to therapists, he doesn't know what a therapist is, because you have mental disorders in those countries, right? You go to your great-grandma and tell her, great-grandma, you ever hear of therapy? She'll be like, what are you talking about, therapy? What's therapy? It's like, because if you're depressed, what's depressed, right? They don't have certain sicknesses that the city folk might have. Okay, so that's a little entry. And all of that little discussion went back to an-Najashi, was rooted back in Najashi, and rooted back that Noah Yohannes may in fact be from the descendants of an-Najashi. Okay, all right, so now let's get to our topic of today. We're going to read, as we usually read, from Shama'il al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And my brothers on the right, I'm joined by Sheikh Murad Uthman, who's going to be your Arc View Aqeedah teacher next semester, starting September 18th, bi'idhnillah. And I'm also joined by Suhaib from Colorado, sorry.
No, you got it right the first time.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas, then he lived in Colorado, and now he's, well, you are a resident of New Jersey, at least, right, at this point in time. So you guys can feel free to chip in at any time. Likewise, Ryan, if you got your mic on, feel free to chip in at any time. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Babu ma ja'a fi sifati nawmi rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. حدثنا محمد ابن المثنى حدثنا عبد الرحمن ابن مهدي حدثنا إسرائيل عن أبي إسحاق عن عبد الله بن يزيد عن البراء بن عازب one of the great Sahaba أن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كان إذا أخذ مضجعه وضع كفه اليمنى تحت خده الأيمن وقال ربي قني عذابك يوم تبعث عبادك. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم used to say, and give a translation here, Bara ibn Azib said, when the Prophet would sleep, he would sleep on his right side, his chest would face the Qibla, and he would put his right hand under his right cheek, and he would say, Rabbi qini adhabaka yawma tab'athu ibadak. Protect me from your punishment on the day that you resurrect your slaves. Okay? And this is also a similar hadith related to Ibn Mas'ud, and there were many ad'iyah that the Prophet ﷺ used to recite that he was already protected from. Is he already not protected? Every Nabi is protected from Allah's wrath. It is impossible, shar'an, that a prophet go to Jannah, right? It's impossible. Nor be punished. Why? Because they're ma'soom in the first place. But the Prophet ﷺ teaches us how to express humility and seek forgiveness. Okay? How to seek forgiveness and have humility by making istighfar constantly and seeking refuge. Some people they say, well, I just love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't fear the fire and I don't fear paradise. This is just a false claim. If it is the case, if you're not worried about that fire, come give me your hand. So let me start putting it on fire now. In the dunya, it's much less of a fire, right? If you are so courageous, right? And give me all your wealth. So and let me abuse you. The abuse you're going to get from me is 1%. Less than 0.001% of a moment in Jahannam. So you're a liar, right? You are afraid of pain. Nobody on the earth is not afraid of pain and does not desire and yearn for ni'am, fadl of Allah. And all of this is your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you're realizing who is protecting you and who's giving you. So fadl of Allah, the bounty, the word fadl means the extra stuff you don't need, right? The extra stuff in life. If you want it, not realizing it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's likely to be a distraction that's bad for you. But if you realize it's from Allah ta'ala, He's the giver, and this will only increase me in shukr and mahabba, love and gratitude to Allah ta'ala, then seeking it and having it can even be good for you. Forget that it's not bad for you. It can be good for you. It can be a source of shukr for you. Sayyidina Ali, one time he took a cold drink, and his son Hassan said, I never seen you drinking a cold drink before. Like Sayyidina Ali, from the old times, the way of zuhud for the old times, right, is that they only drink room temperature water, because it was actually hard to get cold water in the old days, especially cold juice of a fruit. So he said, I want to bring the shukr out of my heart. When you want to get gratitude out of your heart, enjoy some of the blessing of Allah Ta'ala that He gave you in this earth, right? Enjoy some of it so that the shukr can come out of you. All right. So, from that perspective, seeking protection and seeking the good things of the world is not bad for you when you realize who it's from. So it is mustahab, the mustahabbat of this hadith, mustakhraja min hadha al-hadith, that we extract from this hadith, is that it is recommended to sleep with your chest facing the qibla and on your right side. Now what else is this? This is the burial position. The Prophet ﷺ said, sleep is the little brother of death. Okay? It's just like death, except that your soul is connected by a thread to your body, so you're not dead yet. Okay? A human heart is on the left side of the chest, so by sleeping on the right side, the heart remains on the top side and will not go into very deep sleep. Because one of the things the Prophet did not like was an extremely deep sleep. So when you sleep on your left side, your heart settles and you could fall into a very deep sleep. Of course, a person will move around. You must move around when you sleep, because otherwise your blood flow would be disrupted, would be solidified. So you need to constantly move around. And Allah says in Surah Al-Kahf, وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ, right? We move them so that their blood can continue to flow. And that's one of the proofs that they didn't die and were resurrected. They stayed. If the people of the cave, the youth of the cave, died and were resurrected, you don't need to flip them around. Okay, so they didn't die and were resurrected. They were asleep. So once you intend to sleep on your right side, and if by the nature of sleep you end up moving around, then la ba'sa bih. Okay, but the Prophet did not like the heavy, deep sleep. Okay. Some physicians have said that it is good to sleep on the left side because in deep sleep, food digests better. But there is a harm in that too. The heart will be at the bottom. The whole weight of the body is near towards the heart, and this will affect it. Okay, and Allah knows best about all of that medical talk. Okay. But by putting a little pressure on it, they say, the old physicians, they say that when you sleep on your left side, you're putting a little bit of pressure, and if this amounts throughout your life, disease can be created by the pressure. Allah knows best about that. There's a lot of things from old medicine, right, that they're nice wisdoms, but I don't know I can't tell you if it's correct or not. Okay. So that's the idea here of sleeping on the right side, and the Prophet would put his right hand on his right side, and he had a fiber, a piece of leather filled with fibers, palm fibers. So there's two types of palm trees. There's one that releases dates and that one that doesn't. So if you ever see the one that releases dates, it's very fibrous. It's like a hairy tree. And it's thick. If you see the palm trees like of California or the Caribbean, they don't release dates. It's a skinny and a very clean and crisp trunk. So the Arabian palm tree releases dates. And it's thick, fibrous. So they take the fibers and they make use of those fibers. The Caribbean and Californian palm tree is a smooth trunk and it's nice and skinny. It's beautiful. It's like something you would just put out there, for ornamentation. So they used to take the hairs of the fiber of the tree. They take leathers from a goat or a sheep or a camel even, and they would fill it. And that's how they used to make mattresses in the old times. So it's thin. The Prophet ﷺ used to, one time, he had a very deep sleep and he slept through his tahajjud. So he woke up and said, "What happened to the mattress?" And he was told, "Oh, I folded it for you." It was one of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, one of the mothers of the believers or the wives of the Prophet ﷺ said, "I saw you were tired, so I folded it for you so it would be softer." He said, "Oh, that caused me to have a deeper sleep and miss tahajjud." So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Just keep it flattened." And that's what he would sleep on. Yeah. So if anyone wants to have a prophetic mattress, the way you do it is you get pieces of leather, fill it with palm fibers, sew that all together, and that's what you sleep on. Because there are some people who do that. Like, for example, we know what the sandals of the Prophet look like. They'll get it sewn, like Habib Omar got one made exactly like that. Okay? And you could do that. We should actually have that stuff. We should have prophetic things because people have replicas of stuff all the time. You go to someone's house, oh, there's a little replica of like a 1975 Pontiac or something like that. So you love it, right? So that's it. We're not saying it's ibadah and deen. Fine. You want to say that's all bid'ah? Fine. It's not ibadah and deen. It's just this is what I love. You collect baseball cards. You collect something else. This is what we are into. Next hadith. حدثنا سفيان عن عبد الملك بن عمير. This sanad goes to حذيفة ibn al-Yaman. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إذا أوى إلى فراشه قال. When the Prophet would go to his bed, he would say, اللهم باسمك أموت وأحيا. Or, I don't know why they put a hamza here. باسمك أموت وأحيا. Right? They put a hamza here in this copy. I don't know if that's it. Huh?
It's Hamza al-Wasl.
Yeah.
Not qatl.
Yeah. باسمك أموت وأحيا. وإذا, in the Maghribis, the Hamza al-Wasl is a big yellow dot on top. I mean, don't pronounce it. Move on. الحمد لله الذي أحيانا بعد ما أماتنا وإليه النشور. هذا إذا استيقظ. When the Prophet would wake up, الحمد لله الذي أحياني بعد إذ أماتني وإليه النشور. That's your dua when you wake up. And when he would sleep, اللهم باسمك أموت وأحيا. In your name, I die and wake up. So the words here, and then death here, what does he mean by death here? That sleep is an example of death. Like we're taking an example, ibrah. And if you notice, the seasons are ibrah of the general life cycle of a person. And the day is a general life cycle of a person. You wake up, you're full of energy. Okay? You go through the whole day, and you never think about the night. Like if you have a busy day, like the night is something that's not on your mind at all. Then finally, as the sun starts setting, everyone starts going home. Now you start thinking about the end of the day. Then you unwind, you wind down your whole day, and the last portion of your day should be very quiet and contemplative, right? And that's actually one of the things that we all got disrupted with because work is now with us 24 hours a day. That's a disruption. Emails, messages. Like it's a very healthy habit. I can't preach to everyone to do it every time. I don't do it myself, but I try to do this. And when I do, like the next day is great. Around 7:30, 8 o'clock, what is the need for me to be doing anything? Like there has to be a time and a place for everything. So this stuff there should be a wall put up. Khalas, I'm done with everything. right? I'm not looking at the phone again. I might look at it for another reason, but not for serious work, right? So that you literally shut your mind down and you can unwind yourself and you can start contemplating life and existence until you fall asleep. Or you retire for the day. It's a good habit to do. I'm telling you, so much of certain basics of shariah and sunan of the Prophet ﷺ are needed for healthy living today that are lost. I remember people decrying the light bulbs, reading about people decrying the light bulb, right? That the light bulb, like this is going to destroy us. That's what they were saying about the light bulb back in the day. And we're not anti-technology. A Muslim is not anti-technology, right? These things exist for a reason. Habib Omar said every technology that exists because Allah allowed it to exist. And it exists for the spread of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So that the hujjah can be upon it, or the excuse of not knowing about this deen is lifted from everybody. Everyone will get a chance to know about this deen. I recently heard about a sister in Colombia. She became Muslim just from the internet. Never met a Muslim in her life. And if you go to South America, Central and South America, it really is a no man's land for Islam. And any perception they have is bad from the Spanish heritage. The Spanish are from the worst people of hatred towards Islam, right? I don't know if you guys went to Spain recently. You probably experienced that. You guys went, right? It's from the old Reconquista era and the Crusaders. Crusaders are not just the French that went to Jerusalem. The Crusaders are also, they went left or in Spain and Andalusia, and they despise the Muslims. Despise. That's why in Central and South America, that Spanish heritage, it comes in their diet. Everything has pork. I was one time in a Spanish country. I ordered seafood. That's the only thing that's halal here. Mixed in the seafood, I smell pieces of pork. I was like, wait a second, what is this? There's like, sliced ham. Even in the seafood, right? I said, forget, I'm not even eating here at all, right? So the only restaurant I ended up feeling really comfortable eating in, I literally said, is there meat in the building? Right? Meat, all carne, pollo, jamon, right? Everything, okay? Is there anything in the building, in your kitchen at all? She said, no, purely fish. So, alhamdulillah. So, this is from the heritage of the... how did we even get to talking about the Spaniards? What were we saying?
Like habits? I don't know.
Yeah, so they're saying that the light bulb... I was saying that Central and South America, the Islam is really just something totally new there. I was saying technology. And there are people who became Muslim, right, that I have heard of just from the internet, nothing else, right? Can you imagine that? And I know a couple of people just from a book in the library, became Muslim from a book in the library. Actually, someone we know, okay, he's not going to mind, Ilyas, because he said this on the podcast once before publicly, so I can repeat it. He became Muslim, funny. He became Muslim from a pamphlet. A pamphlet. And guess what? It was a Shia pamphlet. So he reads the first, now this is his own saying. He's like, he did not know anything about Islam. So he reads the first page about Allah, about the Prophet ﷺ, about the Quran, about the previous prophets, about the prayer and fasting and zakah. So he's like, I'm a Muslim. I believe this. The last page is about the imamate. Like their doctrine of imamate. And he's like, oh, this is nonsense. He said, as a non-Muslim kid, a teenager, not like a law student, a historian, no, a teenager, he was like, yeah, this is all right. This stuff I don't believe in. Yeah. He said, purely by fitrah, just by his fitrah, he's like, okay, because all this stuff is like universal. It makes sense. It's acceptable. But now you have all these names. What is this, right? And he just ripped that as a non. He didn't even know what the word Sunni and Shia meant. Okay, next. كان صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Okay, تروي السيدة عائشة. إذا أوى إلى فراشه كل ليلة. Every night when the Prophet would come to his bed, جمع كفيه فنفث فيهما. He would recite ikhlas, falaq, and nas in his hands, then blow in them, and then rub all over his body. And this is a form of ruqya and a form of safety. Okay. ثم مسح بهما ما استطاع من جسده. What he's able to of his body. It's not like every single inch, just a general rubbing of his body. All right. يبدأ بهما رأسه. He begins with his head, and then his face, and then the front of his, and then whatever he can of that, and he do that 3 times. Okay. So that is a type of self-ruqya you can do. Many people don't realize ruqya is simpler than you think. Okay. And the ruqya is not by the sophistication of the words. Long prayers. People think that you gotta, if the guy's reciting in like Syriac, this is the real thing. No. It's not about that. It's about your i'tiqad, your iman, your belief that this ruqya works. Okay. I'm not even kidding you. Many people have told me they were so sick, nothing was working, and they just did a salat tabiyyah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم 300 times. And they found cures. And one of them said, I was saying this salat tabiyyah. This is a beautiful story. He told me, I had some issues. I was saying the salat tabiyyah. In the back of my mind, I said, I believe in this, but I don't know how, like physically what happens. I say this dua, how is this going to cure me? Right? He didn't know. And as he's saying the dua, he is like overhearing a conversation as he's saying this dhikr. And he remembers he had a skin problem. He remembers somebody saying that the skin is an organ. An organ needs moisture, right, to be healthy. So he said, oh, why don't I douse my skin in like one of the oils that he had? And he did that. And he said, very shortly thereafter, I started feeling great. So then he woke up next day, and then he realized, hold on a second. The salawat leads you to your cure. Right? So, like, where did that inspiration come from? Where did the memory of that conversation? He remembered a conversation, someone said the skin is an organ, and the organ really needs moisture, right? Like oils. And in the old days, they used to use fats and oils of animals and plants and other things. All right, so the dhikr will open the door for you of a material physical cure. Okay. And it is also possible that there will be no middleman, direct. It's also possible. Why? Because it's not even direct. We believe that sakina is a cure. Sakina is a substance. And when you look at the tafsir, some people say the sakina is the nur of Allah. It's nur. Nur is a creation of Allah, right? Nur comes down. And sakina is the result. Other people say, and all this doesn't make a difference because it's the same result. Other people say sakina is a separate creation than nur. Other people say, no, it's all one, and the nur is malaika, is the rubbing of malaika or the inspiration of malaika, or the presence of malaika. For us, kullu wahid, it's all the same. It doesn't make a difference. However you want to, because it's all the ghaib, right? Like whether you tell me that the light is a wave or a ray, particle or a wave, doesn't make a difference. You're going to see either way, right? So it doesn't make a difference. But just to tell you, just to give you an idea, what they really mean, that sakina is in fact highly connected to the presence of angels and the inspiration of angels. And nur is a physical substance that comes down, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, talinu juluduhum, right? Your skin itself softens. Wa qulubuhum, and their hearts. So what does he begin with? The skin. And what does he end with? The hearts. But that would include, that means the nur actually comes into your body. From the outward, the skin, then goes all the way to the heart. That means it goes through the muscles and the bones, and the tissues and the fats and the nerves and everything else. So we actually believe as Muslims, as a religious belief, that there is a substance out there called an-nur. And it has the power of healing, of relieving depressions, relieving anxieties, relieving disease. It's a panacea. And giving success, giving you ideas, giving you strength of heart, giving you faith, giving you so much. It's a panacea. Okay? And the experts in this field, there are people who, the whole point of tasawwuf is expertise in this field. They tell us that the anwar are different. There's different types. Just like the rays of light are different. So this light is very different than a laser pointer, right? Which is very different from the laser they use in surgery. You can cut. Which is very different than when I put my thumb drive in and it lights up. That's a transfer of energy, of information. This is not transferring. The light bulb right in front of us is not transferring information, right? The light bulb here is different from the light bulb in the computer screen. You ever wonder why the light bulb in your computer screen, it never goes out? You never have to change the light in your computer screen? So as we are in this world, there's different anwar or lights. Likewise, spiritually, there are so many different types of lights. So for the beginners, okay, and for common regular people like us, light is light. We take it all. But these specialists, the spiritualists of our ummah, they study these things and they observe and they examine and they come to conclusions. For example, dhikr of la ilaha illallah, they say it's a hot light. It strengthens you. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah gives you even more strength. Allahu Akbar gives you heat. It's like a red light. Salah on the Prophet ﷺ is a cooling light. It constantly cools you down. It smooths you over, right? You can never overdose on Salah on the Prophet ﷺ. Okay. Quran is like a multivitamin. Everything is in there. That's why it's the safest and it cements your iman. Okay. So they study that, and different names of Allah Ta'ala. The name of Ar-Rahman is different from certain names. You should be very careful how much you say it. Ya Muntaqim, the Avenger. What kind of result will come if you keep saying Ya Muntaqim, Ya Muntaqim, Ya Muntaqim? You have a story about this?
I was listening to Sheikh Abdul Qadir Hussein, and he was mentioning this principle. And he said that he was mentioning a name of Allah a certain number of times. And he said he just felt heat.
SubhanAllah.
Like just heat. So he said, what did he do? He said he opened the window.
Yeah.
To try and cool down. He said nothing was changing anything.
SubhanAllah.
He said, I opened the window, I did everything, like the heat was not going away. Then eventually he contacted his sheikh and told him what's going on, and the sheikh advised him.
Decrease from that name.
To decrease from the name and to do something
SubhanAllah.
else.
SubhanAllah.
But he mentioned, the heat. He's like, I opened the window, nothing was changing.
Yeah. So
I do know a similar experience with what's the salah like they call it the fiery salah, like
an-Nariya.
yeah the same thing. It's like immediately, like if you say that after like 10 times, you'd be like, I know why they call it salat an-Nariya, you know.
Has heat.
Yeah.
These asma, they all have different powers. That's why some of the ulama say that if people wanted to come bring down a ruler, for example, or a tyrant or an oppressor, if they had a march and they recited Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, and that's it. Not down with the oppressor. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What are you going to benefit from that, right? But if they went and said Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, that would be the complete government collapse. If they were strong, sincere, and they persisted in it, and they had a large number of people doing it for a long amount of time, something massive is going to happen, right? And so, because Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel has that power. There was a story about a woman. She was being bullied, and many family structures have it in the subcontinent that the woman she moves in with her husband, and she lives with the mother-in-law, right? And the mother-in-law was really grouchy towards her and would give her assignments. Fold this basket. Iron this basket of laundry. She's like, it's not even like my family's laundry, right? And she would have to do it. And of course the son, he doesn't want to get involved between his mom and his daughter and his wife. It's haraj, right? It's like you're losing either way. So she'd have baskets of the family's laundry, not her husband's only, not even his, like her mother-in-law, like the sisters, the brothers. Why am I doing this? So she came upon, when some people are so depressed, right? And they have moments of actual spirituality where they start turning to Allah. And today's world, people turn to Allah on YouTube. People, that's not like a good or bad thing. It's a reality. I'm saying this as an observation. And she types in YouTube, how can I get Allah to help me? She comes upon video after video. One video, she says, a dhikr of hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. That's where she learned, right? And she said, okay, this is easy. She starts saying hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, okay, while she's ironing. She said she was so depressed. This was the only relief that she would ever get, is by constantly, every time she'd think about her trouble, she kept saying hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. She kept saying it. She said within 2 weeks the mom died.
Wow.
The mother died, right? Subhanallah, right? So she's like, am I guilty of murder? Right?
I know.
We say the dhikr of Allah is never a source of evil.
Yeah.
Like this is not sihr where you're trying to do evil. So it's qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah.
I know someone who told me that he told us he went on Hajj and Yawm al-Arafah, and there was a guy who really oppressed him, like really did him bad, like that warranted the person to make dua against him.
Yeah.
So he said he made dua against the person on Yawm al-Arafah, and he said the man died a couple days later.
Unbelievable. And to show you what's qada of Allah, it doesn't always end that way. There was a man whose daughter, he married his daughter off to a guy. The guy was extremely abusive to his daughter. He would hit his daughter, right? And she would cry. And this man was extremely from a powerful family. They were not from a powerful family in Saudi Arabia. And he couldn't do anything. The father would talk nicely, just try to calm the guy down, brush him off, right? Because one's from the elites, one's from a weak family. So he went to a sheikh and he really complained. He said, the sheikh said, I can't get involved in your family business, but I can tell you something that never fails. Go with your family, pack your wife up. You and your wife pack your bags. Thursday at Maghrib, drive to Makkah al-Mukarramah. Of course, put your ihram on at the miqat and drive to Makkah al-Mukarramah. Make umrah. Anytime between Maghrib and Fajr. And then stay in your place after the umrah and make dua until adhan al-Fajr. Tadarru' ila Allah. They did that. Okay. When they got home, same day after Salat al-Fajr, they got home, they found on the hotel phone, back in the old days you could leave messages for people, right? Three messages. Okay, 3 messages. And they were like, oh, again, he's hitting her again, right? When they picked up the phone, it was the man. He said, please call me, it's an emergency. He's like, she died, right? They're thinking all the worst possible things. They got him on the phone, the guy's crying. He said, I'm calling to ask your forgiveness, and I'm here giving you testimony. I'm asking your daughter for forgiveness for what I've done, right? And I've had a change of heart, right? So it doesn't always end that someone's going to end up dead,
Yeah.
right? Your enemy may change.
Yeah.
You never know who's good and who's bad, in fact, right? So that's an amazing... These stories of dua are just amazing, subhanAllah. You can recite them and should remember them all the time, and constant repeat. Repetition is how you get educated. Don't ever imagine that discovery equals education. Discovery is only the first level of education. If you really want something, education it seeps inside of you so deeply that it's part of you without you realizing it. That's really education. So you discover a story once, you got to repeat it over and over and over until it becomes part of you. Okay. Sayidna Ibn Abbas, of course, Ibn Abbas, his mother, his aunt is who? Maymuna. Sayyida Maymuna, al-Mu'mineen. That's his aunt. So he's allowed to see her without hijab. So what does that allow him to do? Sleep over her house. So he used to sleep over her house when the Prophet ﷺ was there, and the Prophet used to allow this so that Ibn Abbas could observe. And Ibn Abbas was such a young boy that was observing everything like a sponge. He was a youth, yani. And he says, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نام حتى نفخ. وكان إذا نام نفخ فأتاه بلال فآذنه بالصلاة فقام وصلى ولم يتوضأ. Okay, وفي الحديث قصة. All right, so this is important hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says here that when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would sleep, he would exhale, like you would hear him exhaling. Nafakha, meaning that he would exhale. It's not a loud snore. Why? Because a loud snore is not becoming. It's something we all make fun of, right? The Prophet ﷺ did not have a loud snore, but he would exhale to the point you know he's sleeping. Then he got up, he woke up, and he prayed, and he did not make wudu. And in this story is a detailed incident. It is unique. Here we talk again. Khasa'is an-nubuwwah. Okay? Khasa'is an-nubuwwah is that their prophets' wudu is not invalidated by sleep. And in the Maliki madhab, it is not invalidated by light sleep, long or short. But if it's long, then it's recommended to make wudu, not obligatory. In the other madhahib, I believe the Hanafis, it is.
If you sleep lying down on your
yes,
sides,
it's not about light or heavy.
Sitting or lying.
It's about sitting or lying down. Shafi'iyya, Hanabila, and Ahnaf are the same. So the Maliki are unique in this. It is not about the position in the Maliki madhab of the sleep. It's about the heaviness or the lightness. Okay, so this is khasa'is an-nubuwwah. Okay, and that's the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Our hearts sleep, our eyes sleep, but our hearts do not sleep." And the dreams of prophets, another khasa'is an-nubuwwah. All dreams of prophets are wahi. They have nothing from shaitan. They never get a dream from shaitan. They never get a dream from their nafs. We, for example, if a bad thing happened to a person, right? Let's say they fell off of a hill or they had a car accident. For the next year, that person may be dreaming of car accidents because his mind is occupied by that idea. Okay? If he loves somebody so much, he may dream of himself married to them. Okay? It's all from your nafs. All right? If you go somewhere where there are shayateen, you go somewhere like there are parts in New York City filled with shayateen, and that shaitan got bothered because you were there, he may come and upset you in your sleep, right? That's what happens. Happened to me many times. I go to New York City, you pass by a certain area of town, like, oh, this is terrible, what am I doing here? You leave, right? Or sometimes you're passing through, walking, so you're there for an extended period of time. You go home that night, this happened to me when I was young, right? Not too young, but younger, and I dreamt of attacks. Shaitan's attacking me. So I said, Sheikh, what is that? He said, maybe you went somewhere last night and those shayateen were bothered that a Muslim was there. And they're coming and avenging you, right? So it means nothing. But it's real, but it means nothing. Yeah, it doesn't, you don't have to worry about it. Your awrad will protect you. That's why we have to say awrad. So prophets never get such dreams. Okay? They never get such dreams. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ, why did he do that then? If that's not the way for his ummah. Because it's from the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he gave prophets. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Right? So you have to use or benefit from the blessings Allah gave you every once in a while. So the Prophet in private benefited from this blessing, waking up, making salah right away, not making wudu. But we know what the shariah is on this. Okay. Next hadith. عن أنس بن مالك أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا أوى إلى فراشه قال. When the Prophet would go to his bed, he would say, الحمد لله الذي أطعمنا وسقانا وكفانا وآوانا فكم ممن لا كافي له ولا مؤوي. What does this mean? So the first thing that we see here is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has different ad'iyah that he said all the time. So that it was not necessarily just one that he said. Neither was Ibn Abbas with him all the time. Nor was Sayyidah Aisha with him all the time when he slept. Nor was Anas. So they all heard different ad'iyah. Okay? That the Prophet used to say. So in this dua it says, praise be to Allah. He gave us food, drink, and provided us with a place of rest. Okay? And how many people has he not given food, drink, or place of rest? Why are there people who are poor and suffering in the world? There will always be a certain group of people in that maqam, poor, suffering, so that others can be generous. Others can be thankful. Others can see the blessing that they have. So the existence of some people who are suffering, it helps everybody else. Because it will elicit out of the rich some generosity, some desire to help. And that will actually decrease the number of poor in the world. Okay, so if there's a rich person who never sees a poor person, he's going to spend his money on himself. But if a rich person sees a terrible situation, he'll be inspired to alleviate poverty from people. He won't be able to eat his steak and sleep on his mattress without a feeling of like, I need to help people. And so just by witnessing one poor person, he ends up removing poverty from 100, right? By the permission of Allah. So that's the wisdom. And Allah also says, some people, they're Marxists in this world. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an ayah about this. Is that for those whom Allah blesses, He will never remove your blessing from you, even if you tried. Like there are some people who say, no, we want everything equal. No, you won't make it equal. Allah has blessed you. You're not running away from, in the same way that you're not running away from your trials, you're not running away from your blessing. Right? Allah tells us you're not going to alter this. فَهُمْ فِيهِ سَوَاء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes these people and says they want everyone to be 100% equal. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen like that. You don't have to try to be equal. If Allah blessed you, enjoy your blessing. Just try to remove others from the harms of poverty, but you're not going to all be equal. We don't have an equal society. We'll never have an equal society. What is ever equal, right? Things are not equal. Things are always a little bit different. That's the spice of life, and that's the beauty of variety. So our philosophy in terms of poverty is you try to remove people out of the hardship of poverty. We don't shoot for all equality. That you have to have the same income as me, you have to have the same. That's just ridiculous. Okay, it's absurd. But we try to remove each other from the harms of poverty. That's it. It is reported in another hadith, to whom poverty reaches and that person asks the people for rescue from starvation, that person's needs are not fulfilled. What does he mean by that? He means if he believes that the source of salvation is going to come from the people. That's the type of begging that is madhmoom, blameworthy begging. But if you're in the maqam that you're so poor, but you believe that the rizq is from Allah, then asking somebody is harmless. Right? Next hadith, and the last one we have here, Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu narrates, if the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam made an early journey break in the last portion of the night, okay, traveling in the nighttime was their habit because they used to, it would be cooler at night. So if he took a break early in the night, he would sleep on his right side. If he was staying there until before the morning, he lifted his arm, put his head on it, and slept. Okay, so he would sleep on his arm. Oftentimes they would travel, you don't sleep with stuff. You don't have stuff. You travel, you don't have your mattress, you don't have your pillow, so you use his arm as his pillow. Good. All right, let's stop here and take your comments and questions on this great topic. All right. We have Yusuf Chuck joining us here. Shoaib Q5. Okay. Sadia Q. Hassani Yas Tabansum maybe. Nashra Rana Azim. Qasim. Okay. D-Jam. Jannah. Different people here. Nimra. All right. Put your questions here. We're not going to scroll up. If you have a question, bring it here. Put it here. We're not going to scroll up. Khala White says, in Denmark, pregnant women are recommended to sleep on their left side. I don't know what the basis of it is. Why? So that the kid could be Ashab al-Shimal? That's what they want, right? So I don't know what their wisdom is, but I'm sleeping on my right side. Okay, what else we have? Saiku again says, how does one's skin fast? It's a strange phrasing. There is no way that your skin fasts. Okay? He fell asleep if you answered it yesterday. Sorry. Yes, we answered that. Your skin doesn't fast, but your nose fasts. How? It's makruh, and from the Maliki, I don't know about the Ahnaf, to sniff nice scents of food, like coffee beans, perfume, food. It's makruh to do that while fasting, because it's from the ladhat of the shahawat.
It doesn't affect the fast for us.
It doesn't affect the fast, but is it makruh?
I don't, not that I know.
Okay.
I read this mas'ala, but it didn't say it was makruh.
It didn't say it's
It just
makruh
said
in the
it was
Hanafi.
allowed.
It says it's allowed in the Hanafi madhab. Yeah. Who else? Please make dua for my cat. This is the Mangoslicer again. Our boy. Mangoslicer, how old are you? And where are you from? I'd like that we have youth and kids. So make dua for his cat. Is it wrong to make dua for a cat? Of course not, because the cat affects the owner of the cat, right? Sadness of the owner of the cat. So it's like making dua for him. Malik says, in the Hanafi school, if you sleep while sitting, is your wudu broken?
If you sleep sitting with your rear end firmly grounded, no, would not affect your wudu.
Okay, you all heard that? With your rear end firmly, like on a plane, for example.
Yeah.
I remember
In a chair, in a plane, for example.
Yeah.
remember when we were coming back from Umrah, and like it was every single person was sleeping on this plane, and I woke you up, and I was like, there's only 1 hour left, and you were like, what? Like you slept for like 11 hours straight. We'll do it.
Whoa, subhanallah.
We'll do it straight intact the whole time.
Subhanallah.
Still intact. I did that on the plane back from Jordan.
Hibernated.
Yeah, just like. still
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah an-Nahl, وَاللَّهُ فَضَّلَ بَعْضَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ فِي الرِّزْقِ. Allah has preferred some of you over others. فِي الرِّزْقِ. Okay? فِي الرِّزْقِ. راء مرققة. فَمَا الَّذِينَ فُضِّلُوا بِرَادِّ رِزْقِهِمْ. Okay? عَلَى مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَهُمْ فِيهِ سَوَاءٌ. You are not, you will not, okay, by any means, give all your wealth to those who you control, who you have a control over, so that you're equal. أَفَبِنِعْمَةِ اللَّهِ يَجْحَدُونَ. Are you denying the gift Allah gave you? Okay. The verse, you could say it in two ways. For the stingy, Allah is saying, you don't have the ability to do that. Like, you don't have the generosity to do that. But for those who believe, wrong, on the other extreme now, for those who believe that, oh, I feel guilty, I have money and he doesn't, right? Let's all be equal with this Marxist ethic. Allah has addressed it in the Quran. أَفَبِنِعْمَةِ اللَّهِ يَجْحَدُونَ. Are you rejecting Allah's ni'mah? Allah made some people have more than others in everything. And Allah made many factors. Intelligence is a factor, friends is a factor. Also, hisab is a factor. Don't look at somebody who says, oh, mashallah, Allah gave him so much. He has so much hisab too. Right? Hisab is part of rizq.
Hadith says the rich Muslims, the poor Muslims will enter Jannah 500 years
Yeah.
after rich.
So the poor, part of their rizq is the ease of their hisab. Okay? That's rizq. So don't think rizq just ends in the dunya. And just shrink rizq down to one factor, money. No, that's not how it works. All right, so remember this ayah from Surah an-Nahl, Surah 16. And that's verse 71. Let's go now to YouTube, see what's going on here. How much do you think the messenger slept, says Dino? Not very much, but the Prophet used to sleep a little bit in the beginning of the night. Okay, and a very little bit after his tahajjud, before Fajr.
Ibn al-Qayyim says, I forget the name of the book, but he says 1/3 of the night and day. So if you add the qaylula, it's...
Oh, if you add the qaylula, then it's 1/3, which is 8 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, there. Lily says, what's the best dua you can recommend in perceived immediate or potential danger? La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin, of course, is one of them. Why? Because Allah says, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ. Immediately Allah answered him. Hiba says, Hiba ben Haida, that means she is Tunisian, right? If your last name is Ben something. Either Tunisian or Jewish, right? We want the Safina Society podcast back with Mu'een and the gang. I want to do it too. But we have filled our schedule so much, it's unbelievable. This next coming month, we have the ArcView revamp. All of ArcView is going to be revamped and simplified, and there's going to be a user homepage that tells you so much about everything. Okay? Simplified. Google Classroom is going to be gone. All of ArcView Basic and ArcView Scholarship, ArcView Plus, are going to be just one Zoom link for each. Okay? And then all the classes, there's going to be samples. There's going to be a lot of information on the homepage that we're redesigning. That's ArcView. Here, physically, we now have a part-time program for men and women to study with 4 different teachers. You can study Aqidah, Fiqh, Tasawwuf. The classes are going to be here at 367 Somerset in New Brunswick and at NBIC bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. That soon is coming, and we have called this, most people call it a seminary. I don't want to use the word seminary. It just bothers me. Why? It's one of those pet peeves. You ever had an uncle who has a pet peeve? Like he doesn't know why something bothers him. To me, I just feel like a priest.
Yeah.
Right? When you say seminary, I feel like a priest is about to walk out, right? And secondly, what is the origin of the word seminary? It means the origin of everything, right? This is also the word for semen, right? So it seems to, it's just the link, I can't break the link in my mind. So we're not using that word. But it is a ma'had, a place of learning, right, for us, and we're calling it Darul Fath. It was named, I asked Habib Omar to give it a name. Murad, you were with me when we recorded that video for Habib Omar, so he's the witness. Then we received the answer, and he did a long dua for us and call it, first we told him it was a masjid, so he's Sammuhu Masjid al-Fath, right? But now it's not a masjid, we call it Darul Fath, because the last part is what's important, right? And Darul Fath is the name of this. Safina Society Theological College is the proposed official name. Like if you need an English name, right, for it, or an official institutional name. Safina Society Seminary, there's too many S's in a row. 2 S's is nice. But 3 in a row?
Triple S.
Feel like it's a snake, right, or something, right? So I didn't feel like so. Theological College. It's a nice name, right? Divinity School was the other option. But I don't know. I don't like that. Theology, in Western sense, it just means study of religion. Study of God. Isn't Tahara and Salah also the law of God? Everything is the law of God, right? All the deen is a study of Allah's will for us, okay? That's happening here. So if you are moving to New Jersey, if you are living in New Jersey, anywhere here, you're going to have a lot of stuff because it's my classes at NBIC. The classes that are done here by Sheikh Murad, Sheikh Harun, Sheikh Nisar. At NBIC, there's the hifz. Students how to do hifz with Qari Zahid. Okay? There are sisters teaching the recitation of the Quran too, for sisters only, because they don't want their voice, they want to do that privately, so we have that. So there's going to be a lot going on. Almost what was it, Ryan? 4, 5, 6 days a week, people could be studying. That's how we want to spend our time. So that's why we haven't really been able to do the other podcast. Uga Panda, is it better to do dua of Sayidna Ibrahim when you have problems with other people? You can do that, even if it's not with other people. And the dua of Sayidna Ibrahim is Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. How long did the Prophet sleep at night? He said between the night sleep and the qaylula of the day, he says that Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi said 1/3 of the day. That's Ibn al-Qayyim's calculation. Provided that you are not leaning on anything to sleep, if the thing you are leaning on is removed and you were to wake up startled, then it would break. That's Uwais al-Tayyibi mentioning the Hanafi school.
No, but there are some Hanafi scholars who say even if you were to sleep with your bottom firmly seated, leaning against something, if you were to pull it away, it would not affect. So some Hanafi scholars say yes, if you're leaning against something, let's say I'm sitting
Like the back of a chair.
like the back of a chair, I'm leaning, I'm sleeping, I'm on the ground sleeping, and I'm like this on the chair.
Yeah.
If you were to pull that chair, I'd wake up.
Yeah.
So there are some scholars who say yes, that would invalidate, but there are some, like I believe Sheikh Abdul Ghani al-Wanaimi al-Maydani.
Okay.
He said it would not affect. It's just difference of opinion.
Okay. Difference of opinion on that. Hey, Swaib, can you turn that mic so that the part that has wording on it is what you should talk into? There you go. Yeah. Can we trim the beard so that it looks good? Trimming the beard, well, in the Maliki madhab, you definitely can. Anything that's called a beard is a beard by the society that you live in and the society of Muslims. And it is from the mandub to have a full fist length beard, okay, as well. Hanafi school, trimming?
Well, usually in the Hanafi school, you'll have two statements in relation to the beard, being fist length. One being that it is wajib, it is necessary.
We have that opinion too, by the way.
That it has to be a fist length.
Yeah.
Some scholars might say it's sunnah mu'akkidah. But as far as taking what is classified as beard in the Hanafi school is that which grows on the jaw, the mandible.
The jaw, this
The
part.
jaw, yeah. So
Not just here. All this.
all this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not
so
the cheek.
The cheek, no. So you can take from the cheek, you can take from bottom of the neck, because that's not jaw.
I got
right?
you.
You can take
Okay.
from the mustache, but what is on the jaw, this is considered beard.
I got you. Okay. There you go. I'm learning Hanafi fiqh here. Mixing between madhabs by Uwais al-Tayyib. Can you describe that? You are allowed to mix between a madhab. First of all, you should take from the lesser opinion of your own madhab. That's the first place you should go to. When the conclusion of the dominant opinion leads you to something that would endanger normal life, regular everyday living will not be the same anymore. Then you can go to the lesser opinions. If the lesser opinions also have that result, then you may go to another madhab. Why? Because we're a people who do not decide upon our fiqh by choosing a conclusion, then looking for the madhab that suits it. And I'm telling you, that is the difference between the type of, I don't want to say modernists, I'm saying the people who do talfiq. They're mixing around the madhab, and it's a very common thing among some imams. And they say, well, what's wrong? It's all khair and it's all good. Yeah, it's all good because you're deciding the conclusion you want. Then you're looking in the madhab which suits you. So you're not on any madhab. You're not mixing between madhab here. You are justifying your hawa.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Okay, I'll tell you what the mixing of a madhab is acceptable 100%. When you remove all of what is invalid in all the madhabs. Right? That's the mixing of the madhabs of a sheikh, I forgot his name. He's from Sham. Yeah, he mixed between the madhab. The opposite way of the contemporary way people mix between madhabs. So whatever invalidates wudu, that's how he began. He began from tahara. Whatever invalidates wudu in all the madhab, he acted upon it himself. So that his wudu is valid in all the madhab. And then he would make wudu, all the obligations. He jammed all of them together so that his wudu is valid in all the madhab. And then he went to salah. And then he went to other things. And one time, I'm trying to remember his name. One time, Habib Omar, hafidhullah, he prayed behind him. And the imam made sujood as-sahu where it doesn't belong in the Shafi'i method. And the Habib said to him, with all our respect, can you explain why you did salat sujood sahu? Because you didn't do anything wrong in the Shafi'i method. He said, no, in the Hanafi method is this, and I have gathered between all of the madhahib so that all my tahara, salah, som, zakah, hajj is valid in all the madhahib. That's his mixing of the madhab. His mixing of the madhab jammed his nafs so far, there's no nafs anymore at that point. Obliteration. Okay? It's not even obliteration. You don't obliterate your nafs. You are your nafs. You perfect your nafs. He still has a nafs. It's perfected. There's nothing wicked from it anymore. which is not to say that people who don't do that have wickedness. But be very mindful. Why is it that it shouldn't settle in your heart? It should be there's a problem here. When those people, those brothers say, well, it's valid in the Shafi'i school. Well, it's valid in the Hanbali school. Okay, let's look at your methodology. Your methodology is you chose the conclusion. Then you went looking for the evidence. Such a methodology can never be passed on as a heritage. You cannot raise a family on that, because what your conclusion is going to be different from another person's conclusion. So you're going to have, so you're training, your children should say, hey, listen, hey, well, I want to get an earring, and I want to find some madhab somewhere that says that I can get an earring, right? I want to find some code. But you trained him in that. That's your methodology, isn't it? So don't be surprised when you have a splintering. Those groups always splinter because everyone's hawa is different. Can you please give the name of a cheif for dream interpretation? I only know one in Egypt. One only in Egypt. So I don't know if you speak Arabic, but he only speaks Arabic. He's a very good man. Sophia, welcome from Belgium. And I think she said she went to Paris for some reason. Assalamu alaikum. Are differences between men and women in following the sunnah of the Prophet only outwardly? Is the question. Are the differences between men and women in following the sunnah of the Prophet only outwardly? The following the sunnah of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ is following the Prophet ﷺ in the matters that are gender related. So when a woman follows a Sayyidah Aisha, for example, Sayyidah Fatima, in a matter of deen, they are following the Messenger ﷺ. Whenever you follow the shariah in a matter, that you are in fact following the Messenger ﷺ, jumlatan. Jumlatan means in general, right? Because isn't the Prophet's sunnah is obedience to Allah in general. So for example, the Prophet was never jailed, right? But if you're jailed, there's a shariah for you. Certain things are not obligatory for you. Certain states of your heart are necessary for you, right? Following that is following the Prophet ﷺ in general. Are children's toys exempted from imagery and statues? Yes, that they are exempted. When we give money away, we trade rizq for rizq. When we give money away, you are trading one type of rizq for another type of rizq. Hasanat, forgiveness. Best dua for becoming more capable in general. To become a competent person. What is the dhikr to become a competent person? Hawqala, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It gives you confidence not in yourself but in Allah. See, the Western mentality talks about self-confidence.
Trust yourself, they say.
Yeah, trust yourself, believe in yourself. But we have actually something better than that. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because if I say to you, trust in yourself, well, you're not going to succeed all the time, right? So let's say you succeed 40% of the time, and then you start, let me believe in myself. Now you succeed 70% of the time. Well, you're still failing 30% of the time. But if we say, I trust in Allah, then that 30% is not failure. It's Allah directing me to a different route or correcting me. You're still not ready yet, right? You're still something missing. So when we transfer this to Allah Ta'ala, we're actually, what appears as a failure, we don't consider it a failure. Would you recommend Seeker's Guidance? And why wouldn't I? Imam Rabbani. Faraz Rabbani is a solid sheikh from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I've never seen anything come out of their organization in terms of the classes that they give that are outside of it. I didn't read every single blog post, but I know as a principle they follow the aqidah and fiqh and suluk of Ahl Sunnah. Okay. What's better, sadaqah on Monday and Thursday or sadaqah on Friday? I believe the sadaqah that is faster is better. So if it's Thursday, if it's Friday, then give it on Friday. If it's Tuesday, give it on Tuesday. Why? Because we know the Prophet ﷺ said that the shaitan will come to try to hold your hand from giving sadaqah. He will try to whisper to you promises of poverty. So the correct answer to this is that the best sadaqah is the one you give right away. Suzel, how do women optimize their femininity or nourish their womanhood in the absence of male figures, especially as they have been compelled to adopt masculine traits to survive in society. Right? There are a lot of examples where a sister, she's got to do what otherwise in the old world or even in the ideal society a man would have done for her, right? And we would say the answer to this is in number one, the shariah, following the shariah will protect a person from the alteration of our qualities and our characteristics that are not becoming. Because when we go against the shariah, we're also changing our personality. We're getting affected. Nobody could commit a crime, for example, without their personality getting affected. You become bolder, for example. Secondly, reading stories of the sahabiyat and the salaf of the women. Read those stories, have them on your mind. Okay? That's the advice that I would give. Right? That's the advice that I would give. I would say the same thing for masculinity. Some men they've never been asked to do anything. They've never been asked to lift a heavy load or face danger. Okay? So the answer to that is, again, read how the Salaf lived. Okay, how did the Salaf live? What do you need? You need this one. You got it? Regarding snoring, is it a negative thing for a Muslim? No, it's not negative at all, and you can get treatment. If it's really bad, there may be something wrong, you can get that fixed. Adisman, best durud to get something you want? Any salawat. A lot. The best salawat, if you want something, is to do a lot of salawat. Number. Neba. Sorry for repeating this question again, but can we please have the... Yes, it's coming. NBF on podcast, on Spotify, it's coming. We're basically 3 steps away from having like 70 episodes loaded. Lily says, I hope Muna's question can be answered. Where is that? I missed that. I must have missed it. Let's go back.
Our batteries are down on all fronts.
Our batteries they're coming back. They'll come back.
No.
Huh?
I've been charging that one for a long time.
Here, take this. Take this.
Charger.
Maybe that charger is no good. Bakhur isn't allowed during fasting hours. That is correct. If you inhale bakhur in fasting hours, no good. You can take the whole thing out and use it for the main cam. Muna says, I work at a clinic and my job including giving transgender people hormone shots. Go repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Was my money haram? Everything was haram. I felt like it was, but it wasn't sure. Now we make you sure. How do I make this up? Stop doing it. Okay. Wait, I don't know if you can calculate how that money, like how much percentage of your wealth was taken from that deed, but just stop doing that deed. Give some sadaqah. Now you stop doing that deed. I don't know how you're going to stop. You're going to quit? We don't believe in this thing as a religious matter. The secularists could say yes, no, whatever they want to say. We could care less, right? You're discriminating. You're not justifying you're not valid. No, we're not validating anything. I don't need to validate you. Have your mom and dad validate you. I can't stand this. You're not validating my presence. Why do you need my validation? Right? I don't even know you. And you guilt me for not valid. I don't want to validate you, right? You don't have to validate me. I expect you not to validate me. And in fact, right now, you're not validating me. You're not validating my belief, right? That these operations are unlawful. I can't stand this, when a complete stranger comes up to you.
Forces you to speak a certain way.
Yeah, and you're not validating. What in the world? You don't know me. What can I do for you? Why would you care if I validate you or not? Yeah. Right? If I ever went, and my parents, and when I was young, ever saw me like trying to seek sympathy or something from somebody else, right? I'd get in trouble. Don't you have a mother and a father? Right? If you went and you were at a friend's house and a guest's house, right? And you said something like, oh, I'm so hungry. We get in trouble for saying that because that implies we don't feed you at home. Right? Yeah. Right? We were taught you go to someone's house, you eat something first. so that you don't go famished and then you look like you're starving, as if we don't feed you at home. And when they offer you, pretend you're not even hungry, and they make them like have to give you. That's food. Forget sympathy and validation. And by the way, let me restate this type of. It's a type of aggressive tactic that people make themselves into objects of victimhood on one hand, but they make themselves like active
compellers
on the other hand. Yeah. So you're acting on one hand, but as soon as it doesn't work anymore and you hit a wall, you make yourself just the object of victimhood that is being abused. You got to be careful from this. What you're doing is you're diluting the true victims. There are true victims in the world. Anyway, why? Muna, did you get me on this tangent? Muna Muhammad, we were all fine. Everyone was in a good mood, and you had to bring up this this subject, which basically pushing my buttons here. Triggered, I guess. I did get triggered, right? Please, reverse version of it, though. The right version of it. Please make dua for my mother who is very sick at the moment. Samira Noreen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her نسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم أن يشفيها. If someone was stingy towards a relative with a hygienic product they were in need of, and this leads to a chain of incidents that could have been prevented, how do you make amends? No, you got to make amends somehow by compensating, because if you're able to help somebody and you don't, then that may be a form of maybe sinfulness for you, if you're capable. Is it okay to use positive affirmations? Allah is going to accept my dua. Yes, not only that, because the Prophet commanded us to. It's husn al-dhan. Ud'u Allah wa antum muqinun bil-ijaba. Pray to Allah while you are certain of the ijaba. How am I going to be certain? Repeat to yourself. Allahu sami'u ad-du'a. Allah hears prayers. Sami'u ad-du'a means He answers the dua. How can we balance so many different beneficial awrad? That's why we take the awrad of the shuyukh. The shuyukh, such as Imam al-Haddad, Imam al-Nawawi, they give us awrad and we stick to them. Okay. Let's go. Can you thank Sheikh Murad, Jazakallah khairan, for the classes? Okay. That's Prince Matthew. I guess he's one of your students in the classes. That's good. Dino says, how much do you think the Prophet ﷺ slept? We answered that one. Okay, we answered a lot of these questions. Oh, because I zoomed up to get Muna's questions, which sent us off on a rail there. Okay. Muna says, I'm sorry, but it was depressing me that it made my money haram, because you still have a fitrah, that's why. She still has fitrah, knows that this is not right. Right? And that feeling is Allah's speech to us. Some people say, why does God only speak to prophets and He doesn't speak to us anymore? No, Allah Ta'ala does all the time. All the time. Do you think that it's going to come through an angel that speaks to you? Is not your fitrah a message from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? Your fitrah, which tells you. Did not the Prophet ﷺ said, what scratches in your heart, leave it. And what settles... Yeah. What settles in your heart that gives you no doubt, do it. Right? This is from Allah. That's why you have to keep, in the same way you got to keep your ears clean so you could listen. You keep your heart clean so you can feel. And feeling is a far superior mode of communication than anything else. Allah gives you a ihsas, a feeling that this is right or that's not right. Now, you just have to realize that that is in matters outside of fiqh and fatwa and shariah and revelation. Matters where there's no necessarily a rule in the shariah, okay, on that. But in this case, the sister, she felt something wrong about it, okay? She felt something wrong about it, so she asked about it. And that feeling makes you ask. Also, is not all the signs that Allah Ta'ala created every single day another, also His speech for us? Now, when you have wealth like that, sister, let's say, for example, you took a contract, you realize the contract's haram. You dispose of that wealth in a way that is for something lowly, such as you can use it for like toilet paper. It's not sadaqah, because sadaqah, it cannot be with haram wealth. Toilet paper, right? Diapers, things that are lowly, you can use it for that. And preferably for others. So that you don't have, if someone buys you all the diapers for 4 years for your kids, or 2 years for your kids, you benefited, right? So you don't want to benefit from that money. So lowly items for other people. So buy diapers and go to the fuqara, the masakin, who don't have good diapers, and give them. You know that there's a guy named Salim Patel. He runs a charity called Smile in North Jersey. And he did studies and stuff. He came upon that one of the number one reasons for depression amongst women is the absence of diapers. And I was like, what? Diapers? What does this have to do with it? He said, yeah, because the house stinks all the time. It makes them depressed. The house smells so much. And they have choices. Diapers are expensive. Either buy diapers, use up another diaper, or I can get food. Right? So that choice is really... So he said that diapers is one of the biggest things that they donate. Right? So believe it or not. I had someone lie about me recently, says Chief Lateef. Is it permissible for me to call them out? You are permitted to make yourself innocent and say it out loud and in public. SubhanAllah. Chief Lateef, who is it? Who? Shockwave the X-Man. He's now Chief Lateef. So he's a shocker at one point. Now he's a chief. He's an ambitious brother. Right? He's an ambitious brother.
Why do you guys have such weird...
Because it's summertime. The kids are out.
Kids are out.
That's why.
Oh,
he did it because he couldn't make it to do the udhiyah. We had a challenge for him to do the udhiyah. He couldn't do it, so he has to come on another name now. Ibrahim Khan, how do you analyze it when you recite Quran for shifa, but you don't get shifa? Then the mechanism of recitation is either weak or insufficient. Weak means the iman is weak, or you didn't do it enough. Okay. The dosage. Get your dosage right. Right? What about the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, leave the beard, as in no trimming? Yes, he said this. Does that mean recommendation or obligation? That's the question. When the Prophet says something like that, in these matters, the ulama just differed and debated. Does it mean, and what does leave mean? Leave it, like leave it permanently? Or leave it until it's called a beard? So all of that is where the differences have come up.
This is why you need madhabs to understand the hadith.
Yeah, this is why you need usuliyin, madhahib, to understand. The right way to do things in the world is to identify your methodology first. Hey, Rai, do you have that graph, remember? I don't know if you still have it. Yeah. Identify your methodology first. Plug in all the facts. Okay? Plug in all the facts. The slide that's up right now is the reverse, the wrong way to think. Choose a conclusion first, then plug in the facts that you like, downgrade the facts you don't like, and then cook up a methodology to produce that conclusion. Now let's look at the right way to think. The right way to think, decide upon your methodology first. Then plug in all the facts. Don't leave anything. Don't leave anything out. Plug in everything into that methodology. And then produce, you get the result. Whatever result you get, you accept it now. That's the way we do things. What's the difference between salah and salam on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? As-salah is imdad, istimdad min ata'illahi ila rasulillah. So salatullah, the salah of Allah upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is imdad, the madad, what is the word madad? It's a general word for the good things that the Prophet that Allah gives to the Messenger. That's the meaning of madad, support, physical, spiritual, everything. Barakah, rahmah, huda, everything good to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the meaning of Allah's salawat on the Prophet. And our salah on the Prophet is istimdad. We are taking from that. And that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahul mu'ti wa ana al-qasim. Allah is the giver and I distribute. How do we take the distribution, O Messenger of Allah? From you. Do we go and say, can I have from what Allah gave you? We do it by acting upon His deen, number one, and by making salah and salam upon Him, number two. Because the Prophet ﷺ was very concerned and upset. Allah knew the reason he was upset. The reason he was concerned and upset, mahmoom. Mahmoom for what? Those who come after me. So the Sahaba, okay, they're here, we take care of them. But what of those who come after me? To relieve that hem that the Prophet had, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala, the Messenger, Sayidna Jibreel alayhi salam, said, will it not please you? Will it not, in other words, relieve your humum, your hem, that whoever makes salah and salam upon you, that Allah makes salah, whoever makes salah upon you one time, Allah makes salah upon him 10 times. That means, make salah upon the Prophet one time, then you will receive 10 of the imdad that Allah has given the Prophet. So what is it? This is a creation of Allah Ta'ala, a mechanism by which those who come after the Prophet can take from the madad that Allah has given, the ata that Allah has given His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so that is basically, and it is said that the one who does a lot of salah on the Prophet ﷺ, he has a share of the sakina and the happiness, okay, and the waqar that the Sahaba had when they would sit with the Prophet ﷺ. A share, we're not, because it's never going to be equal. It can never be equal, right? But you have a share of enough to fill your cup, basically, right? That's actually the terminology that they use, to fill your cup, right? It's enough that it will make a person feel that sakina and waqar, and it smoothens your personality too. Anyone who devotes themselves to salah and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows this. Time check. It's 3:22. So unfortunately, I wish we could continue on. Let's go with Chief Lateef says, how do we humble ourselves without putting ourselves down? Number one, ambition and humility are two different things. Ambition is a good thing. It's called high himma. But ambition for what? Fadlillah, the good things Allah has for you in this world, and to do good, or to elevate your ego over other people. That's the ambition that we say is bad, right? To harm, to do it through the haram, through abusing others, through hurting others. Okay? That's the ambition that we say is forbidden. And the ambition that is acceptable for us is the ambition that is high himma for the virtues that Allah has given us in this world. Right? To do good, to be a hafiz, to be this, that, and the other. Okay? And to enjoy from the ni'mah of Allah Ta'ala. So all of that is good. You humble yourself, again, it's all by forcing yourself to follow the shariah. And then to follow the sunnah. And then to follow more sunnah and nawafil and virtues. And to forbid yourself from these things. That is the path of humility. It is a path that will eventually humble. You will be humbled. Because you will fail. You will not always succeed. Okay? And that itself is humbling. Okay? Let's go now to Dua an-Nur. Let's go there. And you could make out the whole screen so that we can only have this no signal. Because sometimes our camera gets stubborn, unfortunately. And we can't see the screen. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم اجعل لي نورا في قلبي ونورا في قبري ونورا في سمعي ونورا في بصري ونورا في شعري ونورا في بشري ونورا في لحمي ونورا في دمي ونورا في عظامي ونورا في عصبي ونورا من بين يدي ونورا من خلفي ونورا عن يميني ونورا عن شمالي ونورا من فوقي ونورا من تحتي اللهم زدني نورا وأعطني نورا واجعل لي نورا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept and to bless this gathering and to make everyone who took part in it and everyone who supported and everyone who worked to make it happen. We ask Allah ta'ala to fill their hearts with guidance and let them be upon guidance and upon sa'adah, happiness from today until the day they meet their Lord upon that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of our sins and to turn all of the sinners of our ummah who are penitent into people of guidance and ta'ah and obedience. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are seeking from His generosity that He be generous to them, and those who are making dua that He answers their dua, and those who have relatives passing away that Allah makes it easy upon them, and for those who are seeking education and knowledge that Allah opens the path of knowledge for them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those seeking marriage that Allah gives them marriage and grants them a spouse that they love in this life and the next. We ask Allah for those seeking kids that He grants them children in this life and the next. Those seeking homes and abodes that Allah ta'ala gives them a ma'wa, a place of refuge that they could take. We ask Allah ta'ala for all those who have a need that Allah fulfills it for them and makes it a barakah and a source of gratitude from their hearts and ta'ah and obedience. And we ask Allah ta'ala to let us live and die upon the sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the masajid, with ibadah, with dua, with humility, with khidmah to the ummah, until the day that we meet Him and die upon that huda that pleases Him and His Messenger. Wallahu wa rasuluhu ahaqqu an yurdu in kanu mu'minin. Wa sallallahu wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Aşkınla arasında yıldızlar kadar zikredin. Uslat şarabından için şu canı aşkla versin var. Ya kalbe şifa.